Let's create a pivotal impact. Understanding all that is required to successfully implement the human resources program is quite the undertaking, which is why I'm super grateful for Teresa's passion to serve her clients and for the creation of the complete HR blueprint. So as I've mentioned time and time again, my mission on the Truck Focus podcast is to introduce industry leaders just like Teresa to you, the industry, to help create a pivotal impact. So I encourage you to connect with Teresa on LinkedIn directly or visit her website, kiyhr.ca, to learn more about doing business with them. I've also included a direct link to the complete HR blueprint training in the show notes below. So for those listening, do you have a question about human resources that you would like Teresa to help answer? Leave a question in the comment section below or contact Teresa directly. Teresa, thank you so much again for all the value that you shared in today's conversation. And I really appreciate your time today. Before you leave, make sure that you like this episode and share it out, because there's so much value that Teresa shared today on the importance of not skipping a step when we're dealing with human resources. As always, let's create a pivotal impact. Bye. Teresa, welcome to the Truck Focus podcast. Really excited for today's conversation on a couple of fronts. First off, human resources is a topic, as you know, and as I've experienced, that I think often is either overlooked, misunderstood, or just, oh, what do I do? Like it can be a nerve-wracking topic, especially when someone's maybe hiring for the first time, has to discipline for the first time, or really, which way do I navigate? Because it's hard to find the right roadmap. So I'm really excited for our conversation today because this is your area of expertise. And I really admire just your enthusiasm and passion that you bring for people. I think that's where we really aligned even in our first conversation is, okay, Teresa really cares about people. So that got me super excited. So super excited about that. But also I'm learning that you're in Florida. So I was hoping you could start us off and kind of give us the rundown. How is Florida right now?
Okay, well, first of all, thank you very much for the introduction. You are bang on. I love people, and I've always been interested in helping people. So this was a perfect career to fall into. And Florida is beautiful. It's very gorgeous. I think I look a little red here, but I actually am not burnt. I think it's just the way I'm set up in the hotel. But yeah, it's a beautiful place. Unfortunately, we were originally coming here for vacation to visit my son and watch him play hockey, but he injured himself. So we're here to take care of him, still watch his team play, and try to get in a little bit of fun as well, all at the same time. But it's gorgeous right now. It's supposed to be 30 today, degrees Celsius. Yeah. So it's, yeah, I mean, you can't complain.
Yeah, there's a lot there. First off, hope your son is okay. I learned of that. I think it was maybe a week ago or so. I saw something. So hopefully his recovery process is okay. That's tough, especially because he's hockey, right? It's hockey that they're, yeah. So just, yeah, I grew up being a student athlete, and I know what it was like having destroyed ankles and shoulders and missing out on stuff. So he has my empathy. So hopefully that's okay. But I guess that's a great place to recover as well. So that's good.
For sure.
Good. Okay, well, start the conversation off. I kind of painted an excited picture, I'd say, of my interpretation of Teresa. But can you walk us through who is you and what really makes you you?
Okay, well, oh, and sorry about that. I have my dogs here as well. They're pretty tired, but one is just coughing there. So if you heard that, I apologize. Okay, what makes me me? So when it comes to from a career perspective, thinking back to when I was in high school, I was always the one who was trying to, make sure everybody was good. Right? Everybody's fine. I'm your ear. People used to say, oh, one day you're probably going to be a psychologist and that kind of thing. And so when I fell into HR, it just was perfect because I could listen to people. I could listen to managers. I could listen to employees. I could, try and troubleshoot as much as I could. And that kind of fills my soul. So from a career perspective, that's who I am. I'm just, I guess, a people pleaser, but very strategic. And I really, people have told me this many times, I like to make order out of chaos. So that's kind of my thing. And when it comes to my personal life, same kind of thing. I mean, we're chaotic right now. My son just broke his elbow and we're trying to make the best of it. And we're trying to, again, I'm trying to make order out of chaos, but my family, my dogs, my husband, like all of that is first in my life. And to travel with them is close, very close second. So that's me in a nutshell,
Incredible.
I guess.
You hit a couple of things there that I think it's really important to highlight. And I think the fact that you listened to what people had to say instead of, sometimes it's modest, sometimes it's insecurities. When someone gives you a compliment, like, you're always there for people and you really want to fix things. You're like, yeah, it's me. Like, and you just brush it off. But it's nice that you listened, because I think finding not just who you are in life is key, but finding a career that really really identifies and helps you explain who you are, because, well, I like creating orders through chaos and I like picking up the pieces for people. Like, I think that's a really nice thing that you're able to discover, because I know a lot of people, unfortunately, have never discovered that, and they could be retired and still wonder, well, who am I? And did I even leave an impact? So I think that's really special that you could learn that. And you're also in a career, obviously, as your own business now, where you could really live and thrive in that. I think that's a huge takeaway, because, again, in the industry, so I obviously live in the transportation industry, logistics, warehousing, there's a lot of unknown. There's a lot of, well, I don't know what I'm good at. And there's a lot of almost, I hate the word just, but I'm just this job title. What do I know? And it's like, well, let's help you peel back the onion and teach you what you know. And it's, so again, I like to highlight that when people are like, yes, this is who I am. And I think that's really special. So that's really neat. But it's nice that you're able to obviously travel with family too. So from a business perspective, a lot of people are tied to a desk. Maybe they're tied to the field work or whatever it is, but it's nice that you're able to say, hey, I'm actually going to go to a different country and I can still serve my clients while being with my family, while being really supportive, obviously, with what your son's going through. I think that's also something that's really special just with the journey that you're on.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, just to touch on that just a little bit, I was in a situation when I first started my business where I was constantly in my clients' offices. They needed me. And I actually recall this one situation where I was on a trip with my mom and my sister, and we were in Spain. And I was pretty awesome. A treat by my mom, actually. It was pretty cool. And one of my clients called me and was in a panic. He needed a pre-screen done for a candidate that came to him just to walk in. And I did everything for my small business clients. Like, I was walking into their offices. I was kind of like their HR person. And that's all my employees were the same way. We were their HR people. And at the time, I was the only one in my business at that time. And so I was the only one who could help him. And he didn't know what to do. So I found myself at 11 o'clock at night in Spain, conducting a simple pre-screen phone call. And it was at that point that I knew, okay, things need to change. I need to be able to help my clients by giving them, the tools to be able to do it themselves and not rely so heavily on me to do it for them, so that they're ever in that situation, they can just take care of it. And that's how I've transitioned over the past 3 years into something where now I can be anywhere in the world and I can help my clients. They have continual ongoing support from me. We have set times. So we know when we're getting on a call, we know when we can talk to each other, and everything else they learn themselves to be able to do. And okay, I'm a business owner. I don't want to learn every single thing to figure out how to do in my business, but I do want to know how to do it, or I want to have one of my employees know how to do it, right? So with these small businesses, I needed to build a program that not only could a business owner have access to, but essential people in their organization have access to. So if they want to get away, somebody else knows how to do it, right? Or if they don't want to do it all, somebody else knows how to do it. So that's how this transitioned. Kind of, that was like the very first start, that call in Spain, and then it just COVID and everything pushed me more into that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, phenomenal. So I think It's pretty cool because what you just summarized is literally how I would define a pivotal impact. And that's to me, that's the breath that I live on is, okay, how do we create a pivotal impact in this moment? So you're empowering, you're educating, but you're allowing people to work on their business, not just in their business. And I think that's really another really key cool thing where I just get super excited and I get dizzy because I shake my head in agreement because I'm like, yes, like it's not micromanaged. It's not Teresa comes in, I'm going to hover and I'm going to be your little puppeteer. It's no, I'm going to empower you. I'm going to give you the tools. And you don't like doing that? Great. Who in your team likes doing it? Or maybe you need to outsource. Okay, but you can work with people like that. I think that's a really exciting opportunity, again, in a space that is often misunderstood. And I speak confidently in the HR world, partially because of my career, partially because that's my wife's profession as well. And lots of things that she'll politely vent about at the kitchen table. I'm like, well, why are they doing that anyway? Like there has to be a different way. So when I first learned of your business, I was like, okay, it's pretty exciting. So can you walk us through a little bit of the backstory then on how, because obviously your business, Kiy HR Services, I'd like to know, how did the business concept, I guess, come to be? Like what happened? Was it this, you had a bad day at work and you said, nope, I'm doing it myself? Or did you just always feel you could do it better? Like what kind of led to the launch of the business? And then to start that question off, where do people go to learn more about your business?
Okay. So I've always had a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit. That I think was just something that was, I don't know, bred into me. I have no idea, but I've always had that spirit. And I've always been a go-getter. Like I remember, so I started off in the legal field actually before I got into human resources. And then when I got into human resources, I remember every time there was some type of something to reach for, I never thought, oh, I wish one day I could be there. I thought, oh, I could do that. I could totally do that. Right. And that was like each step of my career in the corporate world, that's where I went. And then one day I was working for this company and the CEO, he kept coming to me. He was part of a group of other CEOs. And all of those other CEOs owned small businesses that did very well. I think in order to be a part of that group, you had to make over $1 million, a million plus. I can't remember the exact amount. So they were all doing quite well, but they didn't have anybody, an HR department. So this CEO would come to me and he'd be like, well, this guy, this CEO, he has this problem. Can you walk me through how to, like, what to tell him, how to help him? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So we get down and I write everything out. Oh, tell him to do this and tell him to do that. And he needs this kind of strategy. And off he'd go and he'd help his friends. And then I thought, you know what, I should try this on the side. Like maybe there's people that would like to do this. And so I got one client. I was super excited about it. I just kind of put it out into the universe. I started the little website and they just needed one thing done. They needed a performance management program done. And I thought, okay, this is really, really cool. And then unfortunately at that business, there was a flood that happened on the main floor and it released a whole bunch of black mold spores. And I apparently am allergic to that I never knew. And I had a horrible reaction. And it was like a month long, they had to like remediate everything. And I couldn't go into the building. Every time I did, my throat closed right up. Like it was just awful. And I thought, oh, I wonder if this is a sign, like maybe I should try this other thing that I'm doing on the side. And so I talked to the CEO and I said, you know what, I think I'm going to give this a shot. And he's like, okay, well, all the best. And, you know, like it was really, really hard for them to accommodate me. And I didn't want them to feel like that, how they were accommodating me. There wasn't like any type of, like I wasn't in a confidential area. So people couldn't just come to me and speak freely. Like there was all of these, you know, roadblocks. And so then I just gave it a shot. And I'll tell you, it wasn't like, bam, I got all these clients. I had a lot of struggles because, and this is where I can connect with my clients so much, is there are so many things in the business I didn't know how to do. I didn't know how to market. I didn't know how to sell. I didn't know how to do the bookkeeping, the legal side. Fortunately, I have the training in that, so I understood that and the experience, but everything else, it was really, really, really tough. And so I can relate with those individuals who have started a business and have no HR. So as soon as like the marketing sucked, but as soon as I sat down and started talking with people, it was like, I totally get you. I know how you feel and I want to help you. Let's get it going. And so for the first probably 7 years or 8 years of having the business, that's all I did was I just, me and my team, we just help businesses with, getting that. I hope I answered your question. I feel like it kind of went.
No, that was perfect because again, nothing's perfect. There is no literal turn of a page and there's music and I'm an entrepreneur. Like we know that doesn't exist. So I really appreciate the lead up. And that's crazy because black mold is scary. And years and years and years ago, I was in remediation actually from a restoration standpoint. So I'd work closely with people that dealt with mold. And that's what they would say is, honestly, some people, like when the Katrina happened down in, closer to where you are right now, they're like, it was horrific because no one knew what this was. And you'd walk into a house, you could be a professional, you could be suited up, and they would literally just drop down. And you're like, well, what happened? And it was just, that was how they reacted to it. So yeah, it's scary. So I'm glad you got out. But that's a really passionate story because ultimately, you took something again that really feeds into who you are is, everything was in an uproar, but I created structure and you were obviously diligent. So there's a lot there. And I think that's really encouraging to our listeners too, where ultimately someone could be sitting here listening or watching and being like, well, if she can do it, I can do it. And it's like, yeah, you absolutely can. And I like that you led with empathy. You led with, what are my clients going through? Oh, I've been through that. Oh, I've struggled with that. Like, I think that's a really sweet spot to navigate through, especially for a good amount of time, 7, 8 years, because ultimately I think people are really fast to forget that we're human and just keep it as a transaction. And, oh, well, here's my credit card reader. Tap your card, please. Instead of, no, what are you going through? How can I help you? How can I serve you? And I think that approach really built a strong foundation for your company now, obviously, for this amount of time. I think that's really powerful too. But again, I like when anyone that's in a leadership role, they lead with empathy. I think that's really important. So I'm glad you touched on that as well. Where do people go to obviously visit Kiy HR Services? What's the website?
Okay, so my website is kiyhr.ca. So that's a Kiy, and play on my last name, Kiyawasew, which I actually didn't realize how much that would confuse people. Like a lot of people do Kiy HR Services. Nobody really thinks of the key, even though in my logo I have a little key and everything. Nobody really can relate to that. So, and I had this little slogan, unlocking your human resources potential, but it didn't really work. But yeah, so it's kiyhr.ca, Kiy-HR.ca. Now that website is kind of a static page. So if you're curious about what Kiy HR Service has to offer, the programs that we have, any testimonials that we have, that's a great place to go. But if you really want to get lots of HR information, there are several different other places you can go. Follow me on LinkedIn. I have an inner circle, my email distribution list of all the people who really want to learn more. That's where people should be going. They should be signing up to my inner circle. And there's on my profile, I believe there's a link to go there. And there's that. If people want a small business guide to HR, they can click a link on that and then they'll get a whole bunch of email sequences on how to navigate through that guide. So they have a lot of options. I have a YouTube channel under the Wonderful Wizard of HR. So I have a lot of options for small businesses. Like if they constantly want to be in contact with me, LinkedIn definitely is where you're going to get the most benefit out of what I have to when I'm posting and stuff like that. But if you just want a snapshot, go to my webpage for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'll include all of those links. I made a bunch of notes. just when you're talking. So I'll include the links as well, because that's obviously where we're linked up as well. So that's no problem. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think the power of LinkedIn is pretty incredible, especially for a small business. And yeah, just knowing that, well, here, I'll give you this gift basket. Oh, you want this gift basket too? Go ahead. Like, I really like that approach. So yeah, I'll include all of those notes for sure. Or sorry, all of the links in the show notes as well. Awesome. So HR Wizard, can you give us a quick rundown on where did that nickname, that title, if it's self-proclaimed, if it's something that someone randomly said, no, it's stuck, where did that come from?
Okay, so how it happened was when COVID hit and everything went crazy, and all of a sudden I had to start doing things online. I couldn't go into my clients' offices anymore. So that was kind of the kick. It started in Spain, where I said, I need to help empower and educate my clients more. But then COVID gave me the real boot and said, okay, no, you really have to do this. I feel like these signs, the mold and all these things just come out of nowhere. But here I was, I'm thinking, okay, now how can I serve my clients? Right. And I really didn't know much about Zoom or anything. And I thought, oh, I got to try YouTube. I got to get on YouTube. And then I want to give people like 10-minute segments of things that can help them with their small businesses. And I'm like, well, should I just call it Kiy HR Services? And I didn't think that would be very fun, and it's not very personal. And I didn't want to just have my name, because my last name is really complicated. So then I just started writing down all these ideas. Okay, what's catchy, right? And then I came up with about, I think, 4. I narrowed it down to 4. And I don't know if you know numerology, but I was like doing numerology on each of the names to see if it's good for business. And then I put it out to my followers and I said, hey, everybody, vote. And then I did a draw. And so the person, once everybody voted, it came down to 2 names. And you know what? I can't even remember the other one now. Oh, Cracker Jack, HR Cracker Jack, or something like that, right? So I kind of liked that one more than the Wizard. So it was Wonderful Wizard of HR and then HR Cracker Jack. But then now Wonderful Wizard of HR, like that just really connects with me. I really like it. A lot of people really warmed up to it. I did the draw and I gave the draw to the person who won, or a prize. I can't remember what it was. I think it was a gift card. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. So that's how it came to. Like, it wasn't like anybody ever called me that, but now everybody calls me it, and it's so fun. And it kind of speaks to the kind of person that I am. I even have a wizard hat now. I don't have it with me, but I have a wizard hat.
Incredible. Yeah, I think that is another really, honestly, you've had a lot of pivotal moments yourself, which I think is really cool. Maybe not from the best circumstance, but again, the chaos, you built structure. So I think that's really awesome. That's a crazy story, though. I wouldn't have known. I didn't understand that, but that is really cool. I think that's really smart too, because ultimately we want to identify with something that's fun and something that people will actually remember, because it's just like, hi, I'm Stu. They're like, hi, Stu. Or you're like, hi, I'm Teresa. I'm the Wonderful HR Wizard. People are like, oh, what? Like, I think that's really smart. I like that.
You wouldn't even believe, I didn't even know how much it would take off. Like, how many people want to connect with me just for the name? Oh, I saw Wonderful Wizard. I need to know more about that, right? Or I'm sitting there and I have HR Wizard, obviously, on my Zoom thing, and people will connect with me after. Tell me about this HR Wizard thing, right? And I never knew it was going to go that far. It was just really more about my personality being fun and catchy. And I am very serious in business. I take HR very seriously. I take structure, systems, policies, rules, all those things that not everybody takes seriously. I take them very seriously, but I also have a fun side that I want people to see, and that HR isn't just this corporate stagnant, like, this is what HR is. There's so much fun to HR that you want to put in your business. You really want to do that. And so
That's a great segue, actually, because that's where I wanted to go to next. So you mentioned performance management. You obviously just mentioned a couple more things. So can you give us a overview? Because I know there's a lot, and it's interesting I really live in the space of transportation safety, health and safety, and I know that there's a lot of, if you want to call them cousins with human resources, there's a lot of overlaps, which I think is really unique. And talking personality, again, I can really tell that you care about people. I can tell you really care about what you're doing. And I live in that same space where I get really jacked when other people are successful. So from an HR perspective, can you kind of, give us an overview of what is human resources and what are some key things? Again, I know there's a lot. We still have lots of time. So wherever you want to go with this part of it, but what are some key things that small businesses you have to have? Like if there's a top three, you have to have these three things. If it's one absolute, wherever you want to go with it. But yeah, if you can kind of give us a summary and then some absolutes, that would be sweet.
Yeah, for sure. First of all, when it comes to human resources, I think what happens is people decide to skip steps. And that number one is absolute. Do not skip the steps. Like, let's look at recruiting to start with. Okay. From the moment you know that you need a position to the moment that you hire somebody, there is a system that works. There's a strategy that works. And if you decide you're not going to do one thing, it's going to throw your entire recruitment and hiring process off completely. And so you want to make sure that you're not skipping steps. One of the things I talk about in my a program that isn't out to the public yet, but it will be. It's something I've done in workshops over the years. I recently did a live. It's called Recruit Like a Pro, and it will be introduced soon. It kind of got pushed back because of Florida, but one of the things that I share in there is when you're recruiting, you don't do this fog the mirror approach. So, hey, if you've heard of that before, it's like, here's a mirror. Can you fog it? You're breathing right on, you're hired. If you do that, you're going to go through a lot of struggles. So there are steps to do that, but it's not just in recruiting. It's in every aspect of HR. So you have your attraction piece where you're attracting people to the business. And that includes your, posting out into the world. So you're selecting them, you're interviewing them, you're, doing all of those things, and then you're offering them something, and then you're onboarding them. And then there's the retention piece. And retention actually kind of overlaps. Like when you were talking about safety and HR, how they overlap, retention and attraction overlaps as well. Because if you treat somebody really, really well in the attraction piece, in the recruiting and the hiring, then you're already going to get somebody who wants to do well for you. And then when you're retaining them, tongue twister, when you're retaining them, there's a lot of pieces to HR. There's a lot of HR facets that you want to have in place. You want to have employee policies. I've had so many small businesses come to me and I ask them, okay, where are your policies? And they say, well, I don't like that word. And they get all yucky and they're like, that's like too corporate for me or whatever. And I say, okay, but what do you do in a situation where somebody's grandmother died? What do you have for them? There's not a legal thing that there is now in Alberta, there is, but there never always used to be. Personal days was something that a policy you just had to have. What do you do for that? Oh, well, we'll just wing it at the time. Okay, but how is it fair to one employee who says their grandmother who raised them? And I did an article on this not too long ago. Your grandmother who raised you and your grandmother who you're not close with, you give 5 days to one person and 3 days to the other. Like, how do you do that? You want to keep it fair. So policies are important to make sure. And you know what? There are so many managers out there who are so thankful for policies because they look back like they have something to support themselves, right? So when an employee comes up and that manager has to deal with it, they can say, okay, well, this is the policy we follow. But policies are also guidelines, right? So if there needs to be a tweak for one situation that's not like everybody else, you don't have to be stringent. You don't have to treat policies like that everybody talks about. You can have that. But I think those are important pieces in human resources. And I mentioned performance management. I think it's really, really important to, at the minimum, when it comes to performance management, is provide feedback of some kind, whether it's continually monitoring them and then providing feedback as you go, or whether you have a formal process, if you're capable of doing that, if you even need to with however many. But feedback is how people know what they're doing right, know what they need to work on, and how they can improve. If you're not providing any feedback, they have no clue, and they're just going to go about their day. And then you're wondering, why aren't they getting better? Well, because they don't even know if they're doing anything wrong, right? So feedback can be done in so many different ways. That's really important. Training, keeping them up to date on things. Succession planning. Once you start getting bigger, where are you? And succession isn't always upwards. Succession can be outwards too, like always developing your employees, right? So that's all part of retention. And then there is the one that nobody talks about, the one that nobody wants to deal with, but you really need to have a good system for this, and that's offboarding. When you're letting your employees go, whether it's through retirement, resignation, or through your own, you have to fire them, unfortunately. There is a way to do it properly, and there's a way to keep your business name good out there in the universe, because people are quick to trash you if you don't treat them well as they're leaving, no matter why they're leaving. So do it right, and you will be fine. But honestly, like I said, if we go right back to the very beginning, don't skip steps. Have a good system in place. And honestly, this is where I see HR consultants really fall down, or businesses that grow rapidly, is they don't have an HR system. And HR consultants were doing what I was doing before, where they're running around trying to put the pieces to the puzzle together. So I would do an HR audit, and I say, okay, what's the biggest pain point that they have right now? What do they need to fix right now? Oh, they need a performance management system, like my very first client. And so we fixed that. And then we fixed this, and then we fixed this, and we just were, piecing things together. And then I would be helping them with a layoff or a termination or whatever, right? And so it was kind of all over the place. Now, if more consultants can do this, it's great, because now I can see the bigger picture, where let's get your system built in 8 weeks, 60 days. Let's get that system built. I have clients that I've had for 10 years, and their system was never built because I didn't have a program like that. We were very, very reactive in fixing, like plugging the holes in the boat, bailing you out and plugging the holes, right? That's what I was doing. And it's like, no, let's just not have holes in the boat. Let's just make sure this boat is built well first, right? Yeah. And then as we go, if we start to see a small leak, we can take care of it then, because we've built it well right from the beginning.
Powerful. Oh, there's so much there. If you can tell when you're speaking, I made probably 19 notes right there, because I think that's advice that's not talked about enough. And so I think a couple key takeaways from myself is being proactive, not reactive, and implementing a plan, not guessing. And I speak on my own experience from when I had my own small trucking company of 8 people to working for some of the biggest. There's a lot of guesswork, and that's the power of a policy and a guideline, or using it as a guide, is you're not guessing anymore when you're heated. Something bad happened and you're reactive. It's like, whoa, I actually have a structure for this. Let's pull this piece of paper out that I haven't seen in 6 months. Perfect. We haven't dealt with it in 6 months. We actually know what to do, or you actually have kind of some form of an understanding of what to do. It's not like your example. Well, someone's grandmother passed away, which is super unfortunate. Okay, you get 5 days off. We're going to wing it this time. And then 2 months later, yeah, I think 3 days off is fair. How is that? Like, what? So I think that's a perfect example where you have to respond, but you actually have a plan in place. So again, I like that you talked about systems, and I think that there's a lot of things that are overlooked or they're skipped. And I was actually in a conversation on 2 things that you mentioned too. So one from a recruitment standpoint for professional drivers. The other is a retention standpoint from professional drivers. And I like that you said, what was it? I had a note here. Reaction is a retention. Was that the right language? The
Reaction.
not reaction. Sorry, I just butchered that. But anyway, the point that you made was, I was like, yeah, it really tied in well, is when you're hiring someone, you're
Attraction.
attraction. Sorry.
Retention. Yeah, attraction, retention, they are intertwined, right?
Yes.
Because in order to retain somebody, you have to treat them well right from the beginning, right from your ad.
Yes.
Right from what you post. You need to show them your employee value proposition. You need to show them how they're going to be treated so that they're excited to come and work for you and stay with you. Yeah.
I think why that's also super crucial. So again, living in the transportation space it's a reminder to others of the expectation, because ultimately we all come in and it's a honeymoon phase and we're excited that they're onboarding and they're excited they got a job and everything's really great until 3, 6 months, 9 months down the road. And it's like, no, let's remember our core values, because we built a house on a rock, not on sand. And I like that you talked about companies that grow really fast, because ultimately they just are guessing. They're pulling at straws because they have to serve this client who just gave them this much more work. So there's a lot there. And I think that just really highlights part of it's your expertise, but part of it's your true understanding of what businesses are going through. Because I like the thought where if I was a 5 or 8-year-old or 10-year-old, like if my 11-year-old who joins the podcast sometimes sat here, he could have learned everything you just said. And I think that's really powerful, because a lot of times as business owners, you're really good at what you're doing, but you don't know about this other stuff. So you have to have it in really like bite-sized chunks that makes so much sense. It's really clear and you make it really attractive, not intimidating. Like some people, policy. It's like, no, policy is a good thing. So I think there's a lot there, which really highlights your profession, but also your care. And I think that's, again, just being in a consultant space, that's really important, because you're dealing with people and you're dealing with someone that's feeding someone else's table. So there's a lot there. I think it's awesome.
You know what? I'm glad actually that you touched on that, because when I was building this program, the complete HR blueprint for all my clients now, I really, really wanted to make sure that the training, the education aspect of it wasn't academia. So when you just mentioned, your child could listen to this and go, oh, I totally understand. I wanted to make sure that people who are not in the HR space, they have no clue about human resources. Well, they have a clue. They're business owners, they get it, and they have employees, so they know human resources is a thing. But I didn't want it to be, what I learned in university. I wanted it to be from the practical standpoint, the things that I learned over the years, my trial and error, not just watching what my clients went through and implementing that, but also what I personally went through as an HR professional over the past 23 years, as I grew over the stages. That's how I wanted this program to be for anybody who joins it. So I'm really, really glad that you said that. So every single module that they learn, they're learning aspects of HR, but they're also learning the practical sides, case studies, things that they can relate to so that they can apply.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's really key. And that's the point I was trying to get. And I ramble when I get excited. And I'm a little bit sick to this. I'm a little bit sweaty because I get so jacked up, because I'm like, yes, this is a cure. People need this. And I get that. Sometimes I laugh at myself when I listen after the fact. I'm like, man, I get really excited about things, but ultimately it's the pivotal impact. And that's why, like, I have conversations. Hey, have you checked out the complete HR blueprint yet? I've included a link in the show notes below that I encourage you to check out and learn more about how this very well thought out course will teach you absolutely what you need to know for human resources in your small business. Let's get back to the episode. So you mentioned the HR blueprint, and I really wanted to go there because ultimately, I think when we're talking about training, that is not everyone has time to go get a 4-year degree in HR or even a 2-year designation in HR. But there's so many things, obviously, small businesses need to understand, employees need to understand, supervisors, we all have different responsibilities. So can you walk us through the HR blueprint? What's offered? Whatever you're allowed to share. If there's certain things that it's a hidden package, I don't want you to feel like you need to disclose everything, but what's offered in that training? Because I really like it. Like from what I've seen so far, I'm kind of like, yes, like that's actually going to give a roadmap to someone and support to someone that really needs it. Because again, in my industry, perfect example is they start off as a professional driver, they drive a truck, they kind of learn the ins and outs. And all of a sudden a customer is just like, yeah, we're expanding in this, whatever. Hey, I'm going to go buy my own truck. So the moment they buy their own truck, now they're a business. Hey, I'm going to buy a second truck. Now they have an employee. At what point in that journey did they say, how do I hire properly? What's an employee policy? Like, what is a succession plan? Like, none of that exists because that's the thought process. And I speak on experience. So can you walk us through from, again, the HR blueprint perspective? How does it help small businesses really just understand and what type of support is within the training?
Oh my gosh. First of all, I have to say, I love that picture that you just painted because that's how it happens. And next thing you know, like a lot of my clients do come to me in a reactive state, but I've had clients who've come to me. I had this one client who came to me. They were 4 owners and they were building a daycare. And they said, okay, we need to have the HR structure and we need to hire everybody before our daycare even starts. We want to get them trained and everything. And so we went through the whole process with them together, and we built their system. It was perfect. They were so proactive. When we talked about being proactive, not reactive, that's one of my favorite little sayings. But they needed us for that. But then they kind of went on their own, and they had everything that they needed to move forward, but they didn't have that continual support from us. Well, they did, right? On an hourly basis as needed. But when you're consulting one-to-one like that, you're put in a queue. So it could be like 5 days before we get back to you. And I've had people who have contacted me and said, I really can't wait that long to get a hold of my consultant. Like, I need something now. I need something right away. And that's one of the reasons why the Complete HR Blueprint was built the way that it's built. So to give you an idea of how it works is it started with me just doing the research and asking previous clients and future possible prospects, and just asking anybody who is a small business owner, what do you want to see in a program, right? Because I can guess, I have been doing this for a while, but I want to know from them, what do they want to see? And then I created a beta program. It was a prototype, and I had clients who came and joined it, and we did an 8-week process, and I built the modules based on what the feedback that I got, what people were looking for, and what I knew they really should have as well, just from my expertise. And we went through that and tweaked things a little bit. Like, it was live every week. We went live and I'd do a new module, and then I tweaked it and I built it. So there's 8 modules in total. And I continue to do research, and I continue to talk to people to find out, okay, what is stopping you from wanting to be in a program like this? And one of the big things they say is, the first thing they say is time. I don't really have the time to take training. And then I say, do you have the time to not? Do you have the time to stumble through recruiting somebody and then find out you recruited the wrong person and then you have to start again? Do you have the time to not properly evaluate your employees? Do you have the time to search for somebody to talk to and wait to, like those consultants that you have to wait 5 days before you can get on a call with them? Do you have the time to have to talk to a lawyer with something that you could have prevented even having to talk to a lawyer for? So it goes on and on and on. So you have to take a look at the big picture. But the problem is people, it's not until they feel the pain, that they've been in the situation, that they go, oh my gosh, I need this now. And then it's too late. The Complete HR Blueprint takes 8 weeks for you to, properly implement your system. So if you had to just, at the time when you said, I don't have the time for it, if you had to just jumped on it then, when something came up, it probably wouldn't have even come up because you have the systems now. But if it still comes up, guess what? You have ongoing support to help you through that. So how the system works is when you sign up, let's say you were to sign up with the Complete HR Blueprint, you get an email right away to say, okay, here you go. Here's your course. The course actually is time released. So each module is released once a week. And I've done that by design, because if you're anything like me, who's a real go-getter, I'll try to do everything in like all 8 modules in 1 week. And then I'm overwhelmed. And there's a lot of information in here. There's a lot of templates, and it teaches you how to go through each one of the templates and how to build it for your own business. There's a lot of things that you have to do. So I didn't want it to be where it's a complete dump on people. I want them to go through the first module, learn how the program works, figure out how to navigate through it. Like, that's the introductory piece, right? And then the second module, we talk about mindset and how to get ready for everything that HR has and the history of HR. I think it's really important for people to understand exactly how HR started, and that we're still in our infancy. We're only 100 years old. We're not like accountants and lawyers and even the management side of things. Even safety has been around for a long time, but it's still a baby too, right? So we have these things that you have to learn the foundation before you can continue on. And then we get into the attraction piece, the retention piece, and the offboarding piece. And then we wrap up. But during that entire time, twice a week, you have the ability to get on a phone call with me. And it's slotted for an hour, but let's say there's 4 different people with burning questions that want to get answers, then they can ask those questions. But if I say to you, what are you thinking? If I say to you only twice a week, you're like, well, that's just like the consultant who I have to wait 5 days to talk to. So I created a community. It's actually on the LinkedIn platform, and it's private. So it's only available to Complete HR Blueprint members. And in there, you can upload documents that I will review, and I will comment, I will mark up just like a teacher, and I will send it back to you. Any of the templates that I have, there's over 40 templates to help you build your system. If you take a template and you customize it for your business and you want me to look at it, you upload it, I'll take a peek at it. I'll do the research if I need to. If there's something legal that seems a little off, I'll do the research for you or show you how to do it, tell you where to go and do it. If you have a quick question, I have this employee, I need help, then that question gets answered in the community if you need it immediately and you don't want to wait for the twice a week live phone call. So you have options, you have availability all the time to HR expertise. So that was really, really important. And you can have more than one member join the program, which, I have clients who have, a couple members, and some of them get on the calls and some of them just wanted to learn. And then they were good with that. And then the other ones were more administrative. So they did the administrative side. But to have 3 people in your business to take the different aspects that they want, HR is big. I don't think I ever had a department where I didn't have at least 2 or 3 individuals in my HR department when I worked in corporate, at least, like at the very minimum, right? So that's going to be the same for your business, especially when people have different, everybody wears multiple hats in a small business, right? So somebody will take on admin HR, somebody will take on the recruiting piece, somebody will take on the managerial strategic piece, right? So each one of those have to have that. And there's one more thing that you mentioned about the education. You triggered something when you said that, when you said nobody wants to go out and get a four-year degree or a 2-year diploma to get HR when they're running a business. Like, that just doesn't make sense. And that's actually when I was doing the research, and one of the clients that are actually one of the program members that they're a member today, that's what they said when I was asking questions, what's important to them. They said, I was actually thinking about going and getting a 4-year degree because we're just struggling so much with the HR side. She goes, it just doesn't make any sense. And then she became a member and she's like, this works. This is perfect. And it was really exciting to me too, because I didn't know, right? I didn't know how well it would work. I'd never done anything like this before. Every kind of training I've ever done is live in workshops, and 2 or 3 day workshops or half day workshops. There was never anything like this. So it's been exciting for me too.
Incredible. I like that. I like that you get most excited knowing the impact that it's having too.
Yeah.
Because there is a bunch there too. And I get just like, yeah, making good notes. So my wife,
we might have to have like a to be continued.
I literally made notes on things that you've hit. I'm like, let's do some more, because again, no one's having these conversations, but it's impacting so many businesses, ultimately impacting so many people. And so my wife and I go to U of A, she goes to UFC still, and she's finishing her HR designation while I'm working on my health and safety designation. But we had to pick, because ultimately I'm like, we have 2 young kids, we have a house to run, obviously, we both we have lots going on with careers and everything. And that was a big deciding factor for us, is I'm like, man, wouldn't it be sweet knowing now where it's like going in, like I think she's year 3 of trying to tackle it, because we had our youngest and stuff like that. And she's just like, she's almost done, but it's like, man, there has to be a faster way. And why I say that is how many, again, working professionals or business owners say, I don't got time. It's like, no. Now you have time, because I structured it in a way that works within your time frames. So that way you're not working 18 hours a day, plus trying to do this training, plus trying to do that. I think that's really strategic. And I like that you went from asking to beta to this is what it is now, because I think too many times people just assume they know. I've been doing this for 20 years. I know what they're going through. It's like, but you're not building to teach them what you know. You're building it so that way you're going to where, I guess, the level that they're at, and then you can empower from there. So I think that's really special. But also, you touched on earlier when you're talking about the HR process, the training and the succession planning. So a lot of times the admins, the clerks, if you used to call them the secretary role, they have 19 different things on the go, but they're just a job title. But when you're empowering them to enter this training community, to actually say that we want to better your skills, and we want you need to own this space. Okay, whatever their name is, they take ownership on that. They go home and they say to whoever their spouses or friends, guess what I get to do? Like, there's so much excitement there. So again, you're empowering people there. So you're empowering their employer to create pivotal impacts in their employees, which is a retention attraction, because ultimately, why would I leave halfway through a course? Like, well, I'll see how I feel at the end of the course. And there's more. Like, I think anyway, there's a lot there that gets me excited. So I think it's just nice to see it's really thought out. And it's really people focused, and you're leading with empathy. And it's not I'm Teresa, here's my whip. It is, what are you going through?
Here's my wand.
Well, right. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a really attractive just space to be in, especially in a topic where there's so many moving parts in HR. But you're helping people build a foundation. And another thing that you mentioned too, that I think is really worth mentioning, is far too often we have tunnel vision, because you can only handle, our brains can only handle so much capacity. We only have so many minutes in a day, all that type of stuff, where we can actually be this laser focused. So you get tunnel vision. Block it all, block it out. But you're actually empowering people to see the world with their eyes wide open. And I think that's a really cool gift, because it's being in a community where, I didn't have time to make it to one of the calls this week. I guess that was a waste. No. Ask the question in the community. And obviously you're there, but there's other people there. So it's peer-to-peer interaction too. And I think that's another really strategic place, because
oh my gosh, yes.
I don't feel intimidated. Yeah. I think, again, to complement the program, to complement what you're doing, I think there's a lot of just really I need to take this for this reason and this reason and this reason. And yeah, you've done a really, really good job. So I just felt that was really appropriate to highlight.
Thank you. No, thank you for that. And I'm glad that you mentioned the peer part. One thing I should mention is everybody signs a confidentiality agreement. There are major repercussions if it goes outside of the group. And the peer, we all need to trust each other. Right. And that is what we have created in the community. They support each other. Everybody supports each other. We even start our calls, because it's still a small enough group, where we start our calls with gratitude. We all just go around and say, what are we thankful for? First in the HR space, but if you can't think of anything there, then just in life in general, right? And it just gives that peer community that you were talking about. And that's one of the things that I love about it too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Just with respect to time, I won't lie to those listening. You can expect a second episode. So maybe there's a little bit of pressure there to do another one, Teresa. But I think there's a lot more that we need to dive into because we're literally at the hour mark, which I think is really spectacular. So can you just in closing, two things I like asking. So one, do you think about like consciously or subconsciously the impact that you're having on people when you're interacting day to day? Is that something that I call it legacy, but not necessarily when you're gone, but in the moment? Do you think about the impact that you're constantly having? Is that something that you're aware of? Or is that just, you've always, like you mentioned before, I'm someone that I listen to people, I like solving problems, I like creating structure out of chaos. So that's just who you are? Or are you really just focused on, no, I know I'm impacting this business, so I'm going to bring in my best? Like, do you think about that kind of stuff?
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny. I'm always listening to audiobooks and I'm constantly thinking of ways to how can I help more? How can I help more? And the reason I want to help is obviously for the legacy of their businesses and for the building of their businesses, for the hard times through economic changes or pandemics or whatever. I want to be there for them. I want them to have the support that they need when they don't know where to go. And we're going to troubleshoot together. That's so important to me. But also, which a lot of companies don't think about, or if they're thinking about, they don't know exactly what they need for their exit strategies. If they are not passing this business on to their children, their legacy business, are they selling it? Are they building it to sell it? Well, guess what you're going to need? You're going to need a good HR system and you're going to need people trained in it. So that I'm always thinking about that and how to get them to where they need to be. But you definitely hit the nail on the head when you said it truly is to help people. Like, I've thought about not doing the business anymore and I just can't. There's so many small businesses out there that I want to help and that I know they're out there and I know they're trying daily, they're struggling. And I just want to show them it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be hard for you. I can help you. I want to help you. Let me help you. And, for like literally less than 3% of what you would pay me on an annual basis, you would pay for this program. Less than 3% on an annual basis.
Yes.
It's tiddlywinks the value you get out of this, and you get an HR expert who would normally be paid over $100,000 a year to be in your business, and you're getting me. So what are you waiting for? Let's do this.
Completely agree. What are you waiting for? I think that's the perfect call to action. So again, where do people go to sign up right now? What's the best place to go right now?
You have a link.
Yes.
You have a link. Look for Josh's link. It's there. Just click on it. You'll get into the complete HR blueprint. When you click on his link, you're going to see there's it's a landing page and it tells you a little bit more about it. I don't like to beat around the bush, and you will learn that with me when you start working with me. I don't beat around the bush. I'm going to tell you how it is. I'm going to tell you if you're going to be in trouble with anything. So go in there. You're going to see the pricing. You're going to see there's a signature option and there's a payment plan, or you can pay all at once. And there's also an elite option. And that's, you get a little bit more out of that, but take a look. There's FAQs in there. There's testimonials. That's where you go to Josh's link and sign up, or book a call with me if you have more questions, you want to meet me and learn more. You can do that all in that same link.
Awesome. Yeah, honestly, Teresa, this conversation, it was awesome. It was really people focused. And I think that you did a phenomenal job really bringing up, okay, who is Teresa and who is the HR wizard and what is Kiy HR Services and what is this blue HR, sorry, what did I call it? The HR blueprint. Sorry, I got backwards. Yeah. But I get really excited because that's ultimately my mission, is to say, look, I've been really fortunate to connect with Teresa, identify her as an industry leader. I want to introduce her to as many people as I can, because I know that you're creating that impact. So I'm just really grateful that you blew my expectations out of the water. But I know our listeners are super grateful too. And that's honestly the biggest feedback that I get is when people laugh And when you can tell that their true personality came out in the conversation. So I'm super grateful for that, because I also know that's how you serve your clients. And I think that's just it's a good 1-2 punch, because again, too many people are like I said before, okay, here's a credit card machine. Tap, please. No, tap. I don't take cash. Tap. Like, I think what you're doing is super exciting. And I'm just really grateful that you took the time to hop on the podcast. So Teresa, honestly, thank you so much again. This was a really, really good conversation.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. You've made this so easy for me. Like, you obviously know what you're doing with podcasts. I don't know if I would be the same way on the other side. You really made it quite effortless, and I really appreciate it. And I would love to do another segment. This was so fun.
Awesome.
And thanks for accommodating my my digs.
Honestly, it's perfect. I like the fact that, you're somewhere warm where we got, I don't know, just under half a foot of snow yesterday. So it's a little bit jealous, I won't lie, but it's okay. We'll make it through. But yeah, honestly, this was awesome. And gladly I'll do some more. Like, I have a list of things that you touched on that I'm like, absolutely. So again, to our listeners, you can definitely expect to have Teresa back. And thank you just so much again. I really appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye.
Understanding all that is required to successfully implement the human resources program is quite the undertaking, which is why I'm super grateful for Teresa's passion to serve her clients and for the creation of the complete HR blueprint. So as I've mentioned time and time again, my mission on the Truck Focus podcast is to introduce industry leaders just like Teresa to you, the industry, to help create a pivotal impact. So I encourage you to connect with Teresa on LinkedIn directly or visit her website, kiyhr.ca, to learn more about doing business with them. I've also included a direct link to the complete HR blueprint training in the show notes below. So for those listening, do you have a question about human resources that you would like Teresa to help answer? Leave a question in the comment section below or contact Teresa directly. Teresa, thank you so much again for all the value that you shared in today's conversation. And I really appreciate your time today. Before you leave, make sure that you like this episode and share it out, because there's so much value that Teresa shared today on the importance of not skipping a step when we're dealing with human resources. As always, let's create a pivotal impact.